Hello, my name is Hudson and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a tag video. It was inspired by an incredible YouTuber named Bree, I've never met her, but she seems really cool. And I am not a booktuber. I just make videos about what I want to make videos about. The tag at hand is the Unpopular Opinions tag. I'm pretty excited for this, mainly because I have a lot of unpopular opinions. Since this is kind of like a little bit of, what are those called? A tea time video? Let me tell you how disappointed I was, by the way, when I found out that tea time videos meant gossip. I thought we were gonna talk about the history and art and culture of tea. Anyways, I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea. It's tea time. To move to my bedroom because it is, for some reason, 72 degrees in January. Now, if a neighbor walks by the window, they're going to think this is something that it's not. And we have the tea. With the tea, my laptop is still here. I have 3. I'm gonna go from least offensive to like, oh my gosh, I need to unsubscribe to you. Unsubscribe from you. Number 1, Wuthering Heights. I don't like second person narrative. It never stood a chance. Number 2, A Discovery of Witches. I do not like this book. I think it's terribly written. Let me say the pros. The world building, incredible. The magic system, I loved it. It's honestly the only 2 things that kept me going with this book. But it's just not good. The romance is problematic and selfish, and a lot of people who I respect as artists and as humans love this book, and they say it's like the best romance, how they want a romance like that. And I'm just remembering this book and I keep thinking, have you had a healthy relationship? Have I not had a healthy relationship and think I know what a healthy relationship is? It boggles me. So I would love to hear your opinion if you're someone who loves this book, why you think it's a good romance. But I will be debating this discussion in a kind way, not in like, I need to prove you wrong. I just want to bring up some key points and be like, please talk me through why you think these are okay things. Also, here's the thing. If any writer starts off a book where the main character looks in the mirror and explains to herself mentally how she looks, I just know the book's bad. But then when they continually do that, like the main character continually describes how she looks, it's just a red flag for me within books. The last one. This one here is going to make a lot of people unsubscribe from me. Hate me. Hit the dislike button. I can already feel it. This is blasphemy for what I'm about to say. I should sit up for this. No, I should lie down. I'm gonna rise from the dead right before everyone kills me. I can't do it. Oh gosh. I hate Lord of the Rings. Can you hear me out? Hear me out fully before you unsubscribe. I have a good reason, I promise. And it's honestly exhausting me, my reasoning behind it, because I have to explain this to so many people when they find out I don't like Lord of the Rings. Long story short, the fandom sucks, okay? Like, I should love Lord of the Rings. Everything about it is like very much my cup of tea. But the fandom is so intense that I felt like I never had a chance to gauge my own opinion. I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter has done so much for me. I plan on making a full video on how Harry Potter changed my life. And I'm saying the books, not like what the books have turned into thanks to like, you know, certain authors and all. I felt when I was younger you had to choose between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I grew up during a time in an area with a time where religious people were kind of crazed about what you can and cannot read. I did not grow up in one of those families, but my extended family was like that, and I became homeschooled in middle school. So there was a lot of, if you read Harry Potter, you're going to hell. You should be reading Lord of the Rings. And for everything that Harry Potter did to me, which, long story short, which is a summary of this featured video, it taught me how to read. It opened me up to the magic of books and reading. Well, reading to myself. I always loved books and stories, but Harry Potter was my first ever entrance into an individual relationship with books. Okay. What was that weird hand motion? And because I was stubborn and people gave me these ultimatums between the two, I stayed loyal to Harry Potter. And I just didn't know people who liked both. They didn't exist in my circle. As I got older, I tried reading it on my own because I had a very religious family member who kept buying them for me, saying that she needed to save my soul or else I'd go to hell because Harry Potter is written by the devil. And I have nothing against religion. I just really am against when people tell other people they're gonna go to hell because they don't believe in what they believe. It's just, don't do it. So I tried reading it. I couldn't get into it. And when Frodo said he wasn't gonna go on that adventure for like 30 some years, I was like, mm-mm. Then when I was in college, I found a group of friends who loved Harry Potter and loved Lord of the Rings. And I thought, this is my group. This is my group to get into it, you know? And oh, this is where the real trauma hit. We decided to binge the whole show in one day. And it didn't go very well. At one point, they paused it and asked me if I had any questions. And I was like, yeah, I don't get the whole Gollum and thing. Are they the same person or are they not? I don't really want to say the name. I know I have to for this video. It's Smeagol or Schmeagol. I do not know, or maybe it's none of them. But the point is, I said one of those names, and I kid you not, this is not an overreaction. One of them hit me. Like, one of them whacked me on the head and corrected me, fully offended that I had mispronounced a fictional character's name. I'm sorry. We grew up during the time where no one knew if it was Hermione, Hermana, Hermes. We've made up our own names, and we got through that just fine, and no one hit anyone, I hope. Actually, let's be real, someone probably did. But you're gonna hit me because I don't know some creature's name. I don't know if that was his human name or his creature's name. It was traumatic. And then throughout the rest of the film, they kept pausing it and asked me what his name was. And if I mispronounced it, they would whack me on the head. They were fanatics. They were crazed, know everything about the history of the world, what J.R. Tolkien was doing the second he wrote that sentence. They knew too much, and they were crazed with power. I don't really know what's popular and what isn't. I have heard people have issues with Jane Austen. I once knew a writer who compared her to Stephanie Meyers of the 19th century, which is not true. I think Jane Austen is incredible, and I think people don't know how to read her work correctly. It's satire on the world, not a romance. But one of my favorite books is Northanger Abbey, which is one of her, it's not her greatest work, but it's one of my favorites, so I don't know if that counts. Right off the bat, just don't like love triangles. I'm okay if people end up with different people throughout a series because that's natural, that's how life works. I'm personally not a fan of love triangles. Example, Hunger Games. Katniss should have ended up alone. She did love Gale and Peeta, but I don't think she romantically loved either of them. An OTP that really bothered me in the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy, which was by Juliet Mariller? Don't know how to pronounce it. The main character is Blackthorn and Grimm. Once again, they shouldn't have ended up together. I personally believe Grimm emotionally manipulated her into liking him. Self-help books. I don't know if that's popular amongst the interwebs, but in my own personal life it is. I live in Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. We're rare from what I hear, and people hate us. Plus, I work in the yoga world, so that's health and fitness, and they're all obsessed with self-help, and they believe fantasy and fiction is childish to read, and I greatly disagree. I just don't like self-help books. I get reading one in your life because you went through something traumatic and you need to get through it, but we have to keep reading them. I have opinions. And then lately it's been young adult. When we talk about tropes, I will explain why. Fanny Price, Mansfield Park. I have recently watched a documentary though that if you would have read the book during the time, what you would have gone out of it versus today's standards. So with that knowledge in mind, I do plan on rereading it. Otherwise, I just don't like her. I hope I can be proved wrong on that. And then obviously Diana Bishop from A Discovery of Witches. Okay, so here's the thing. If an author, how do I start this? We as writers and authors, or however you want to label us, we automatically write ourselves into our books. We all do it. But the difference between a good writer and a bad writer is that the reader will not know that you wrote yourself into a book. Also, when you write yourself into the book, you are not just the main character. There's a bit of you in every character because you're pulling from real life, authentic emotions into this. Or you're imagining how you would react or someone you know would react, which is in turn, you're writing yourself. When a writer writes themselves as the main character and they're only the main character and it's very obvious to figure that out, you're writing fan fiction for your life. And there's nothing wrong about writing fan fiction, even though I have a whole rant on fan fiction. Well, published fan fiction I have a rant on. I don't have a rant on fan fiction itself, just published fan fiction. Don't do it. Like, make sure the reader does not know you wrote yourself into a book. I've done it though. Believe me, I've done it. When I was 16, I was going through a tough time. I purposefully wrote fan fiction about my life that involved werewolves and fairies, and it helped me through it. But I never had the urge to publish it. I just knew it was therapeutic. There's nothing wrong with writing it. All opinions, you know, just all opinions. I don't like Diana Bishop. She was definitely a reincarnation of the author, and if you'd like a video on how I can prove it, I'll make it. Do I have to tell you, Deborah Harkness, who wrote A Discovery of Witches? By the way, I'm not putting her down as a person. Obviously, I don't know her. Oof, okay. This is why I don't like young adult. Let's go through the list and then I'll go into detail. Insta-love, mating, like the imprinting thing, teacher and student relationships, vampire relationships. Now let's break this down. Insta-love and imprinting and the whole mating thing, like, oh, you found your one true soulmate. I just feel like writers create it to excuse the problematic, abusive, and manipulative love interest that they create. Possessiveness, jealousy, clinginess, it's not attractive. I don't think it's ever been attractive. Teachers and student relationships, pedophilia. It's gross. And then for the vampire thing, it goes under the same thing. Like normally the vampire's at least 100 years old of being a vampire and they always fall for a teenager. In this sense, Discovery of Witches was a good book because the main character was mid-30s, which, just so we're clear, I do not believe for a second she was in her mid-30s. She acted like a teenager. True Blood, mid-20s, not as creepy, but I believe, though I haven't seen this film, but I've seen a lot of clips because I can't find the film for free, What We Do in the Shadows, they handled this really well, where, you know, there's a 1,000-year-old vampire dating a 90-something-year-old woman, and he goes, I know what you're thinking, she's jailbait, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how old the human is, it's still really gross that anyone who's like 100 years older than them is attracted to them. Bree actually also made a video about about human development and vampires. Those could be 2 separate videos, they could be 1 video. I don't know, I'll link them both below, but it was a really good discussion. And within it, she mentioned that maybe when a vampire is turned, their their brain's development stops, and then I guess it would make better sense for why they're attracted to a teenager, because why anyone who's not a teenager would be attracted to a teenager is beyond me. No offense to teenagers, it's just you're in different developments. And that's kind of why I'm kind of over young adult, because there's just too much of that right now. But I would love some good young adult fantasies that don't do that, or do that but acknowledge it in a like, hey, this is messed up sort of way. I really had to search for this, but I would have to say The Magicians, mainly because I should be interested in it. But to me, it's just too much of a carbon copy of other things that I love, and I'd rather read something different. One is Robin Hood. I loved the BBC TV show. Yeah, it's inaccurate. Yeah, the costumes are not accurate. But I really, really loved that show. And I read the book, and just Robin Hood wasn't as great of a character as I feel like all the adaptations have made him out to be. I would like to reread it now that I'm not in middle school. I'm gonna end this video here because I have rambled on forever. But if you are not offended by my thoughts or opinions, because they are all opinions, and like I said earlier, I would be so happy if you proved me wrong. I genuinely don't like hating things, even though it's super fun to hate on things, let's be real. I don't like hating on things because I feel like I'm missing out on knowledge or something by not getting it, and I would love to get it. So, you know, please let me know your thoughts. Let's have a healthy discussion about this, and let me know if you agree, if you disagree. Comment, like, subscribe if you haven't unsubscribed already, which I totally understand. There are things in this world like Harry Potter that I get very defensive over, but through my trauma of Lord of the Rings, I have learned that fandoms can ruin books for people, so I try not to get too intense. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.